So, good evening. This will be the 10th year, I guess, of this particular story's evolution or disintegration to some extent. And as always, this piece will also be defined by the egg timer, which will be set at 8 to 9 minutes, in which it's always a kind of an approximate. It never really works. It's quite a cheap one, £2.50. But I hope that this story will be contained within that. And as a side note, as a prelude, or as a frame or a context, like a light box, 2 meters 20, or a table construct, I realized today, as I tried to rehearse, I tried to rehearse many times before today, but as I realized today when I was trying to rehearse, there was a table construct, and I realized I was sitting by a table in a cafe thinking to myself, how do I rehearse for this particular story that I've been telling for 10 years? And this kind of whole work, in a way, is also kind of like a series of table conversations that evolve around particular parameters, light boxes or tables or coffee or egg foo young, or a timer parameter. And this piece will continue by a table construct, 9 minutes, and ticking and timing, but in fact, in a place foreign, north, east or west, not quite sure. Lake District, table construct, and I walk in, and I regret that somehow. 9 minutes now, 9 minutes, or the Lake District, no relation to me, but then again, egg foo young, check it, the first table construct, in a room, east, west, there, Kirkshire, there's a hut, small little room, and I walk in, and there, an elderly lady says, cup of tea, love, tea, construct, pictures, pictorial, landscapes, starting in a room, in a small room with landscapes, pictorial, complete, immersed by collage, collect, and then egg foo young, in a room, in a cafe, now restaurant, in the Lake District, and the story starts always pencils museum in Derwent, in a museum of pencils, a line stretching from wonderful pencil museum in the middle of nowhere, middle of England. There, a museum of pencils and lines and chopsticks and woods and forms and 9 minutes and now 30 seconds ticking, going down. I said to my dad, I said, why of all places was I born by the sea, Southend Sea, by the coast, the estuary? He says, Tris, the person you could have searched for is called Chopin, starts here. There, 1922, he's born in Paris, and now Norfolk, he dies in Norfolk, but then Paris, I need to search for a man called Chopin, he's in Paris. Okay, that's the clue. The clue is in Paris, he loves credits, le souffle de I, kai, or vac de I, in German or French, avec mauvais français, I'm not quite too sure. But then I'm in a Chinese restaurant, there before that, a tea, room, hut, pictorially complete pictures of landscapes there, pictorially complete in a room. 45 seconds in, and then there in a room, table construct, I can search for this man, a concrete pro, a sound pro, in the Lake District, there or not quite, on Norfolk or Paris. Avec mauvais français, I can search by but I can't practically find him, search by le je penche or yellowpages.com of FER.org. I can't search him practically, so therefore I can walk around in circles, and the story starts now on the first table. But before you do that, return to the sea, to Essex, because the house is sinking, and shoes, Clark's shoe shops, there, boxes from the beginning, from origins, boxes, shoes, contain objects all my life, contain and put it in boxes, shoebox, and says, Tris, the house is sinking, it's disappearing, it's going away. Boxes, delete, translate, and I realize it's too late. 2 minutes in, tripod, microphone, tripod, camera, holding every object, left, right, A to Z, and photographs, I'm holding, with the camera, 35 mil, APS film, or perhaps not, 35 mil, sprockets and spools, and time, parameters, now in the room, no table, no construct, no parameter, now 2 minutes in, and I'm holding, I'm deleting, translation, all the boxes from 2D, 3D, and little boxes, little archive boxes, and translation, decant, perfect, to find another shoebox of photographs. I think, shit, I can't sit there and just hold each photograph and translate, I'm running out of time. Therefore, I realize the Germans want to recycle this. April, May, shredder, June, 9:22, Paris, destination. Perhaps 7 minutes in, perhaps not. And then again, the Germans want recyclers. So I realised, Papierstau, go to Germany, pack my bags, left and right, mustard and relish, left and right, and now in Germany, the wonderful recyclers, in a room, in a small room, in a Plattenbau, in a GDI MDF bedroom. I'm in the room now, shredder, all the photographs, A to Z, border, lines, sheens, matte, glossy sheens, I'm shredding, I can't shake because this piece of shit is £2.50 from South and Seafront. A small hand to it, an informant and hand to it, and I'm cutting as fast as I can until it's deleted from east, west, Victoria, left and right, until I'm deleting, decanting until all my boxes of photographs are translated, contrived into small little sheens, matte, glossy, now time, 4 minutes in. I'm still in a room, and I'm in a room like Bickendorf for May, April the 1st until May Day, 1 month of solitude, 30 days in a room as fast as I can. I'm photographing in front of shredding my calendars. April, May, June, May, middle calendar, Van Gogh. He says, "Dear Theo, I want to paint solitude. I want to paint every line, every shape, every colour, every form. Dear Theo, in 1888, I want to paint solitude. To the left, to the right, to the left, a door, a chair, a bed to the other door. Shutters are shut, pictorially complete, in a room, hut, tea, Kirchhoff's landscapes, depiction there, and now back into a room, into 1888, and Kirchhoff says, from F to Y to Z to Merzbach, topping, saliva, ticking, still going, in May Day, and the Nazis arrive in May Day, like they always do. The Nazis arrive, and I realise, bang, kaput, broken, it's never going to work anyway. And I realise I'm running out of time, running out of breath, it's not going to work anyway. But then again, 89 revolution, smoke, synchronicity, the Germans. The East Germans say, why is it synchronicity? Why is it the same moment in time? Smoke rising. And the starting, they've got many papers, big machines. They've got small machines. They've got big machines. Thousands and thousands and millions, 300 million sacks, bags, text, oxygen. And they're shredding. And they can't, you've got to burn. You can't just cut, can't take, you've got to burn. And then they're shredding, they're cutting up, and they're burning. And the people of Leipzig from October, November in 89, they see smoke rising in Leipzig, Berlin, all the way down to villages, towns, Victoria complete, Lake District, or landscapes complete, landscapes and smoke rising, same moment in time, and they say this is it. Top of wall, documents, bureaucracy, crumbling, the weight, documents, shredding, and I realised I failed as well. May Day, Nazis arrive, and now, avec Mauvais Français, I'm in Paris, avec Mauvais Français, walking around, two, left, right, mustard, relish, suitcases, calendars to the left, decanted, photographs, sheens, cut, because the Germans are wonderful recyclers, and now I know that because now I've decanted the photographs, and now I'm ready to search back to a room, to a construct of egg for young, checkered, and now north, east, south, west, walking around in Paris avec Mauvais Français, buying apples, walking around hoping I could bump into Orange Chopin and say, Orange Chopin, je passe aux questions for the, my French is so bad, so if I can do it, but in the east and west, so I bumped into the supermarket, buying Le Zufter, Vactor, quail eggs, hoping it's by 48, and I'm walking around in circles and ticking and running out of time. And I return to Glasgow to a room, another room, a red table, veneer, wooden, sticks, and no more. Now tweezers, Pritt sticks, and I'm blowing out every little quail egg, little decanted eggs, and I want to get 24 decanted eggs into a Ferrero Rocher chocolate box. And I'm by a room now, and I'm blowing out every little egg until then, vegan, now vegetarian. Gave up on veganism and realised it was too late. And now in June in Paris, and now Glasgow, in a table, until I have my Avec Mauvais Français, my object d'art, my decanted, beautiful 24 objects, my quail eggs to give on to Henri Chopin. It was complete. And then years went by, stories went by, slides went by, tables, objects disappeared, photographs forgotten, and retested. And then I realised, dust to the left, never going to happen. Years go by, the same story, repeat. I never bump into Henri Chopin. I have the objects until I realise, December the 15th, 2007, Henri Chopin performs in Brussels. At the Beaux-Arts, he performs. Magnetic tape, running out of time. He drinks red wine, smokes in the auditorium, 2.5 hours, talks about communism, magnetic tape, sound poetry, concrete poetry, performing, abstract language, and then again, I broke the clause not to meet him proactively. I can only meet him by chance, serendipity, but then I ran out of time, saliva, so table construct, Greenwich Cafe in Brussels, last 2 minutes in Brussels, and I'm there, left and right. I drink red wine, coffee. We talk 11 in the morning, and every time I agitate to the left, I always think to myself, j'ai un cadeau pour toi. I've got a present. I've got 24 decanted eggs that I've blown out, and searched and told the same story for years and years. And I had to the left, to the right, and every time I wanted to talk, and twitch, hesitation. It made no sense. And he spoke for hours and hours in French, and I listened politely, thought I could understand something, but not quite. Southend seemed close to Brussels in one moment in time, then also it was quite far away. Wooden table, 1930s, construct now. And every time I want to hesitate and tell him I have these presents, I have these decanted eggs, I hesitated. In the end, I returned with the box of Ferrero Rochers to the right. And I thought I have chocolates to the left, On the right, I have Luz of the Kai. I have quail eggs in 2 identical boxes. 2 Ferrero Rocher Ambassador chocolates get stuck in your throat, tongue twisters. And I realised saliva then. I thought, no, Ambassador cheap tacky. I can't just offer a packet of chocolates to a man I haven't met before. That would seem odd, strange. And then I'd have to pose to him. Also, I said to him, Je cherchais pour toi. Avec mon vrai français. I'm looking for you. I've been searching for 5.5 years, but now I can meet you. And there's always one phone that rings. I always say every single time. The time always rings anyway. This time, perhaps not on time, it doesn't really matter. And as always, as I hesitate to the left and the right, I wanted to pose the question, and that's seriously annoying. But then I didn't. And 10 days later, he died, and I returned with the dusty, the chocolates, the quail eggs, decanted. And as always, the story somehow always ends between 9 and 9.5 minutes with a telephone as well. No more saliva. Thank you very much. That's the end of the story.
I'm curious, in the context of doing this live, to what degree the documentation sort of challenges the live experience that we just had?
I'm not sure how much it challenges your live experience, but how much it challenges me is in performing. It's quite a bit. Usually I don't have this kind of apparatus around me when I perform, but I realised that the egg time in a way was a little bit default. It never really works in that sense. I also realised that having 16mm, when you always have a kind of like a parameter, very concrete, you film in 16mm, it's 10 minutes or whatever. The beginning is always a bit wobbly if you don't kind of roll it properly, the end as well. And I quite like that. That's how I always start. A bit nervous, hesitant. Then towards the end, I'm running out of breath. Something happens, telephone rings, always happens. And you know that's kind of the end of the roll, the beginning of the roll. And in a way I like that the tape, magnetic tape, Chopin, the egg time of the slides, it's kind of analog or anachronistic kind of mediums like this as well. Kind of parrot, there's something reminiscent as well about spoken word and the fragility of memory as well. As for your experience, I don't know. I was hoping that with these lights it would bleach it all out and I can't really see anything and that would be a bit more obscured, but maybe not. Yeah, I try always on the day of the performance to kind of just, within like an hour or two, just to write everything down, and it's kind of like a filtering process, that if I don't write down a certain date, 9/22, or a certain city or a place, I realise that its place in the story doesn't really belong truly over time. So in a way, that this whole story, it kind of actually is, when I started working, I kind of had this idea, which was how I started about tables, like have a table and have a piece of paper and an act and a chapter, and it would kind of expand. But in the end, 10 years later, I have now no more sheets really, a few things, objects. I got this little speckle of items, so in a way everything went the way around and kind of got reduced. So I just write down and list it in a short time, and I think whatever's there in those words, that's what is the kind of constellation of the piece. And then I just perform it with the presence of the audience, which is why I don't want amplification. So even if it's been documented, it's kind of like more for the longevity of the work, because obviously this piece here as well, it is all about kind of trying to capture these kind of fragile objects and speech and memory. So yeah, it's not, I still don't really perform, I have a script that I follow. But also after this performance, I won't use these objects anymore. I think everything does get reduced.
Will you perform this again if you're not using these anymore?
I hope not. Yeah, I think, probably, I think now these are, like, same with the images and with the words that I left on the page. These objects have been spent, this is even broken, it broke on even the way here. So, and obviously that pencil was way too big for that pencil sharpener, so I think they've kind of they've come their way, yeah. But also, I used to be able to tell other stories. You know, I used to be able to have other works that I would perform and enter, but then that kind of all just started to merge and something happened. And then the Chopin work was the same. I was distanced. In a way, I think I got too close to it, and I lost the kind of adrenaline and the kind of the sense of curiosity of actually wanting to be in the story myself. And then I kind of felt this is not right. I felt that something was not there. And then when Chopin died, it actually did change everything, even though, of course, that's kind of a sad way that a work gets kind of like enlivened in a way through the death of somebody else who I'm supposedly searching for. But then when he died, I started to have a distance from the work altogether and look at him more as this kind of historical character as opposed to this somewhat fictive trajectory. Yeah.
When you say that you were writing some notes, you're not writing everything, but you are taking some notes before you perform. But why do you limit yourself with time? And also, when you have the time limitation, and then you have all the keywords, what is your last keyword? And how do you plan to finish, but then you finish in a certain time? But it's interesting that you plan something in advance, but at the same time you are unplanned, and you're limiting your time. So, I don't know how to complete the question, but that's interesting that you are limiting yourself, but at the same time you're not limiting yourself when you're preparing yourself. I have no question. I'm just
Yeah.
interesting at the same time. But what would be the last word that what was your last word? That probably we didn't heard.
Yeah, there's not really. I have to be honest. One thing on deliberately as well. When I write like this, like that, I deliberately write very fast. So this, for example, the rehearsal for today was to buy a notepad when I start, and in an hour or two, kind of rush through the whole piece. Scribbled. I can't read my own handwriting when I do it that fast. So deliberately, it's just about kind of like getting, kind of like a scripture, like getting it out, like sweating it out, like. So kind of like, in a way, I have quite a distance to the material, and I know that there's certain forms. If I look over time, it's like just a bunch of dates. It's pretty cryptic in a way, and I just know that there is no way that if I write it down, and that was why some of the other stories just died, is that I made the mistake of trying to write the script later on, perform first over years, and then start to write a story about what's the content, like trying to write the actual story out, and I could never return to the performance, because when I'm performing, certain words, adjectives, words that you would use in a story, you'd use it for a text, started to kind of like impose himself on this kind of more fluid and a bit more kind of, like hasty and unrefined use of language, which is much more stimulating for me, and in the way that the words on the page, very undefined and loose interpretation. But it's kind of like sweating it out for a couple of hours, and then I'm done. But if I don't do that, I feel like I'm not doing any effort. I'm just turning up and just trying to wing it, which I guess I kind of, an hour in a cafe rehearsing, maybe that is kind of the same, but I don't know. I wasn't too sure on the question, actually, so maybe I didn't really answer it. But.
How does it make you feel that the mobile phone is on? Because it seems like everything's placed and you've got a format with kind of what's on with your question. You kind of dealt with it very well. Is that part of it kind of you going with it, or how does that make you feel? Because it's obviously it's filmed and it's... Yeah,
it's a killer. Yeah, it happens all the time. And one time in Madrid I performed when the phone was ringing everywhere. The phone was just ringing. No, I think in Madrid this was 2011 when I really had the low point of performing like this and thought, this is not going to work. There's no longevity to this. And 7 o'clock performance, and then everyone was just coming and going. Every 5 minutes people just was walking in, oh shit, high-speed English, I'm out. Coming whenever they want. Phones ringing all the time. And I just realised that I was starting to stop, and I just stopped and said, I'm sorry, it's over after 3 minutes. I said, I'm sorry for those that actually want to be here, but it's not going to happen. And I just couldn't, I needed to kind of enter that zone and then kind of work up a kind of, not like a fear, but like the presence of the audience in a way. I kind of see it as in like, we're all in this kind of unstable state where it's only, and also with the timer, I think it's really important that it's defined, because when I started performing, it was with the table and to one-on-one, and I would offer the timer. And everybody said, like, it was always 60 minutes, every 8 timers, 1 to 60, and everyone would always say 2 minutes, because they knew 1 minute is almost a little bit too rude, and if you go after 2 or 3, they're like, what is this going to be? What am I going to get into? So everyone always chose 2 or 3, and that meant that I knew how important it was that we're building this together, and we're in this together, because there's just this 4 or 5 or whatever, this defined moment. So when the phone rings, it kind of can just kill it, because it's not about it derailing my thoughts where the story's going. It's also making me think that we're not all in this kind of illusion, like a fictive illusion, like a story where you're actually writing, as in like a script, you're writing a story for a reader. You kind of have this kind of idea that there's this kind of 9-minute kind of construct together, this world we're creating, and just about understanding, including the author or the performer. So when that happens, it's a reality shock. It's like, I'm back down to like, oh fuck, people might be bored, people might be thinking all the time, people might have other things. You know, that's natural as a performer, so that's what happens. Also, you feel like if the phone is on, you've been told to switch it off, or if you would not switch it off, there's something fragile that happens for the confidence for performing. Sorry for that person's probably thinking all the whole time. No more questions.
Last question. I'm interested in following up on something that you were saying just now about the pace of your performance, and this when you kind of switch it up and sometimes you speak more slowly. I'm just interested in, because I think that the fragility of the performance, that creating the relationship, is kind of really talking really, really fast. For me, as somebody's I'm trying to like listen and read it, and then really slow, it kind of changes the involvement in terms of the speed at which you're speaking. And I was just wondering how that might change or how you feel about the pace at which you speak.
It's a lot slower now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like how that evolved and what your thoughts are.
Yeah, it's a lot slower, and I need those passages where it kind of there's like a pendulum where I know I've got to build up, because as I said, because it isn't written that way, that maybe the first 2 minutes I'm kind of like, it's kind of much more kind of rugged, and I'm trying to construct where I'm going next. So it's repetition, so it's much more about me kind of like trying to sculpt, playing with the language to get to meaning afterwards. So I kind of, with the audience, I'm kind of just building up some kind of like structure for us and for myself as well to lead, and then I stop and think, okay, that's led me to that, that's where I'm going, that's right, I'm going to Leipzig, I'm not going to Paris. I forgot Leipzig comes first, so if I'm going, try, I'm thinking, okay, I'm saying that because I'm there, but really I want to get to Paris, that's the end destination, I want to get there before the Ecktimer rings, but there is Leipzig. So this is kind of, so it's happened over years that obviously for the audience there's no way they're going to understand what all that's about, but I'm always aware that there's a point I have to jump back into like, now I'm in Paris, left and right, mustard relish, and then, so I think at the beginning it was much faster, the performances, it was much more, I didn't do that for the audience, but it wasn't as if I wanted to, I wouldn't be able to, because I didn't know quite where the content should be. So I think it took a long time, at least 4 or 5 years, to understand that these abstract parts are actually the parts that allow us to kind of to move. And it's nothing to do with rhythm or a musicality. I'm not interested in that. It's just making it work somehow.